Hello, I'm John Adams, editor of Digital Photo, and welcome to the second part of our video lesson on making slideshows with ProShow Gold. Now we've put together our basic show, we've added some captions, and we've got it synchronized to the same length as our music. But what we want to do now is fine-tune our slideshow so it's a bit slicker and a bit more professional. Now the first thing we could do with is fading up from black. Every movie and every TV show starts with the words fade in, and our slideshow doesn't need to be any different. But to fade up from black, what we need to do is insert a black slide at the very start of our slideshow sequence. So if we click on our first slide, all we need to do is right click and then go to Insert and choose Blank Slide. And because that's a popular command, there's a shortcut for it which is Alt and I. That inserts a blank slide at the start of our sequence. Now at the moment it's taken the value of our first slide, which is 3.656 seconds, and it's added that to the blank slide. So what we're going to get now is a black frame for 3.5 seconds before we dissolve through, or rather fade up into our show proper. So what we need to do is actually reduce the duration of this slide right down to 0, so all we get is the fade up itself. So all we have to do is click on the slide duration, hit 0, so we have a duration of 0 seconds, and then the job's done. What we then have is a 1.566 second fade up from black. Let's just have a look at it and check it. So we click on this slide and press play. And there we go, a nice fade from black. So that's how simple it is to actually add a black frame at the start of the show and get a nice fade in as you'd expect. Now as you go through your show, you'll notice that there are some slides you want to be up a bit longer than others, and some transitions you want to be longer than others. And this is where timeline editing really comes in. To get to the timeline view from this normal slide list view, all you have to do is hit the Tab key, and there's your timeline. It looks a little bit scarier and a bit more complicated than the slide list view, but all we've got here is the waveform, that's the green bar here, this is the audio, and here are all the slides and all the transitions in time as you run along the sequence. Up the top there you've got your time in seconds being displayed. So if we just play the show from the start, we can scrub forwards and backwards along this bar here. If we play the start, there's our black frame fading up into the first slide where we've got our caption. Then we dissolve through this transition here to the next slide, and then the next dissolve will start now and go through to the third slide, or rather the fourth slide, and so on. So that's how the timeline works. But the beauty of the timeline is you've got these bars which are fully adjustable. So if, for example, you decide you want your title slide, your first one, to be up a bit longer, then dragging this bar here will actually increase the duration of that slide and its transition in proportion. So if we drag it to the right, we get a longer intro slide and a longer transition. If we drag it to the left, we're going to get a shorter intro slide and a shorter transition. And if you decide you want to have a long slide but a short transition, all you need to do is go to this bar here and you can shorten the duration of the transition. So it's fairly intuitive and fairly logical what's going on. And you can actually move through your show and either extend or reduce the time of each slide as you come across it to make it work as best as possible with the music track you've chosen. Now because we've increased the duration of this particular slide here, let's just overdo it a little bit like so. If we then scroll down to the end of our show, let's just go down all the way to the end, you'll find that the video now, or the slides themselves, are longer than the audio. That's because we've messed about with the timings. And this is likely to happen as soon as you start adjusting slide lengths and duration lengths in the timeline editor. What it means in practice is that there may be a few slides you don't actually need in your show, because what you have to do when you're timeline editing is get the audio and the video to match up. So we've got to trim this show down just a touch to get it in sync. So as you go through your show, you may find that there's a few slides you don't really want because they're not really adding too much to the show. Let's pick this one here arbitrarily, slide 12. If we click on that and we want to remove that particular slide because it's not working as powerfully as some of the others, all we have to do is click on it and hit the delete key and it's gone. It really is that simple. You can do this of course in the slide list view if you prefer that. Just hit the Tab key to go back, and if you find another slide you don't really like or that is holding up your show or not working as powerfully as it should, all you do is select it, just click on it, hit the delete key, and that's gone. So that's how simple it is to actually edit the slides in your show. And while we're on the subject of editing slides, you can also move them around. Now, we gave all our slides numbers so we'd have a rough running order, but we don't have to stick to it if we don't want to. If, for example, you want to move a slide to a different position in the slow, let's say we want to take this slide here and move it in front of this one here. All we have to do, click on it, and then just drag it into position. And once you see that bar appear, release the mouse, and you've rearranged the slideshow. So you can move slides anywhere you like just by dragging them along and dropping them into the position you want them to go in. And you can also repeat slides if you want to as well. If you have a slide selected, let's say it's this one here, number 18, all you need to do is hit Ctrl and C on the keyboard to copy it, and then if you want to position it, say here as well, just hit Ctrl and V, and you'll get the same slide repeated. So that's how easy it is to manipulate the slides in your show. You can cut and paste them using Ctrl C and Ctrl V. You can move them all together or remove them all together by using the delete key. And you can change the duration of both the slide and the transition by just dragging the bars in the timeline view. Okay, well, let's just get rid of that one because I don't want to repeat it. We'll just hit delete and move it. And we'll now just scroll down to the end of our show just to see how things are taking shape there. Now you can see there that our slides are a little bit shorter than the music now. That's fine, because what we're going to do is see how we can perform an invisible edit. Now, particularly on things like the end slides of your sequence, what you might want to do is hold these up to run some credits over. Perhaps the name of the music, or indeed your own name as a photographer, or the location, whatever you might want to run as credits, you might want to do it over a frozen slide. Now at present, if we just move this down so we don't get confused by our music, let's just take that down to there, and we'll just play that slide and see what happens. There it is, we zoom back from the tree, back to the full view, and then it fades to black. It's automatically fading to black because we used our sync show to audio option in the first place. But what we want to do is actually hold the end frame of that slide. So let's see how we can do it. Well, first things first, what we need to do is actually duplicate the slide. So we'll just click on it, Control C and Control V in the same place, and we get a double slide. So what will happen now is we'll simply repeat the motion. Let's just have a look at it and try it. So we just go to play. There's our zoom back from the tree, which then dissolves through to the same thing again as zoom back from the tree. What we want to do is hold this wide shot of the tree as a static frame. So what we're first going to do is get rid of the dissolve, the transition between the two. We can quickly do that by either dragging the bars across to make the transition time 0, or we can simply go back to our normal slide list view by hitting the tab key and making sure that that transition time here is 0. That gives us effectively a 0 transition time or a straight cut between one slide and the next. But here's where we get a bit clever. What we're going to do is check the numbers on our motion effect. Let's just double click the first slide of the repeated slide and let's have a look at the numbers on the end frame. Well, here we can see that zoom is at 128%, rotate is at 0, and the pan has two figures, -1.66 and -5.32. And what we're going to do is put these ending positions from this slide into the start positions of the next slide. So we'll move on to the next slide, which of course is the same thing, and we're going to put those end frame positions into the starting position. Now our zoom was 128%, so we put in 128 there. Rotate was at 0, and then in pan we had -1.66, and in the other value we had -5.32. That gives us an identical position, or the identical coordinates that we had on the end frame. And of course, the end frame that we had stays the same, so it's got exactly the same series of numbers. This means that our starting position is the same as our ending position, so it means our slide A is going to match up with the previous slide's end position, and also it's not going to move because it's a static position in terms of the coordinates for the position of the slide. Okay, so if we click done, let's have a look and see that actually happen. We'll click on this slide first, hit the spacebar to play the sequence. There we have our zoom back, and then we have a freeze frame which runs through this slide and then fades down to black. So that's a great way you can insert an invisible edit into a moving slide so you can roll captions or credits or whatever you like over the top of it. Now we've used dissolves as transitions all the way through our slideshow, but let's have a look at what other things are available. If we click on the transition icon, you get this plethora of different transition effects. You've got wipes, mixes, dissolves, all kinds of things to get you from one slide to another slide. And it's really easy to change your transition type. You simply select it from this list and you can see a preview down here of what's going to happen with each different transition. If, for example, we want to see what this star looks like, simply hold your mouse over the star and then down in the preview sign here you can see what effect the star will have. Now, while it's fun to play with all these different effects, remember that a slideshow is about the images, not about the effects between the images. So use lots of restraint and lots of care when choosing transitions. And if you're in any doubt at all, just stick to the straight A/B dissolve, because in a nutshell, that's the most powerful transition you can use. It's subtle and it's effective, and it won't get in the way or fight your slides themselves for attention. So, that's a word on transitions. That's all the rundown on how to make basic slideshows, add captions, use motion effects. What happens at the end? Once you've finished your show and you're all in line with your audio and everything's looking great, what you need to do is first of all save the show as a PSH file. This is ProShow Gold's native format. So all you have to do once your show's complete, just go to File, Save As, and save it as Kenya PSH is obviously a good name for this particular file, so I'll save it as a PSH file, and then I'm all ready to output my show. Now there are various output options because you have to decide, do you want this to be a QuickTime file, a Windows Media file, do you want it to be a DVD, do you want it to play on an iPod, all kinds of options there. And you can access all of them by simply going to the Create Output on the menu bar. Click on that and you'll get a wizard which takes you through the process of whatever you want to create. If it's a DVD, you can simply click on the DVD icon. It will identify whether you have a DVD drive so you can burn it on your machine. Then you simply go through the list of questions, what sort of quality you want, what TV system you want it for, whether it's for PAL for Europe or NTSC for the States and Japan. Audio types, all kinds of things are there, so you can fill your boots and explore those options. Or indeed, if you don't want to go to DVD, you may want to go to, say, iPod or something, or to a PC executable. And all those options are there under the Create Output icon. If it's an iPod or any other kind of device, simply click on Device and you'll get a file list that will pop up on screen, and there you can choose what kind of iPod or a Creative device or Epson device or Arcos device or whatever it may be that you're actually going to make the show for. And once you're happy with the output option, all you have to do is click Create and sit back while it all happens. So there's how to use ProShow Gold and how to make some great slideshows. Do enjoy using it, and please don't blame us if you're up till 4 o'clock in the morning making these slideshows, because the process is thoroughly addictive. Enjoy, and see you next time.